In the year 2147, Earth was a planet that had finally found peace. Wars between nations were stories told in history books, and humanity had started looking beyond its home. Cities on Mars were growing, and people were beginning to think of space as their next frontier. But this calm did not last long. One ordinary day, something extraordinary happened. From deep space, 12 bright streaks appeared in the sky. At first, they looked like shooting stars, beautiful and harmless. People stopped what they were doing to watch them. Children pointed at the glowing trails, and adults smiled, thinking it was a rare cosmic show. But soon, those smiles turned into screams. The streaks weren't stars at all, they were missiles. Alien missiles. They moved fast, faster than anything humans had ever seen. Before anyone could react, explosions rocked the planet. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, all these cities disappeared in blinding flashes of light. The shockwave flattened buildings for miles around. Billions of lives ended in an instant. Among the survivors was a man named Jae-ho. He lived in Busan, a city that narrowly escaped being hit. When the attack began, he was in his lab at the United Earth Defense, UD, headquarters. The building shook violently as one of the missiles struck nearby. Dust filled the air and alarms screamed everywhere. For a moment, Jae-ho froze, staring out the cracked window at the smoke rising over the horizon. Then reality hit him like a punch to the gut. He grabbed his tablet and rushed outside. The streets were chaos. Cars lay overturned, fires burned unchecked, and people ran in every direction, screaming for help or searching for loved ones. Jae-ho pushed through the crowd, trying to get to the UED command center. His mind raced with questions. Who launched the missiles? Why? Was this the end of humanity? At the command center, things weren't much better. Officers shouted orders, while others frantically worked on computers, trying to figure out where the missiles had come from. Jae-ho joined a group of scientists analyzing fragments of one missile that hadn't detonated completely. It was strange technology, nothing like anything humans had built. The metal was smooth yet impossibly strong, and circuits inside glowed faintly even after impact. As Jae-ho studied the debris, he noticed something unusual. Embedded in the missile systems was a message. It wasn't in any human language, but seemed to be written using symbols mixed with broken English words. After hours of decoding, he pieced together part of it. Your expansion ends here. Jae-ho felt a chill run down his spine. Whoever sent the missiles knew about humanity's efforts to colonize other planets. This wasn't random destruction. It was a warning. Someone out there didn't want humans leaving Earth. While Jae-ho worked on the ground, another survivor fought above the atmosphere. Hygiene was a fighter pilot stationed aboard the Celestial Shield, an orbital defense platform designed to protect Earth from threats in space. When the missiles entered Earth's orbit, her squadron scrambled to intercept them. Flying her sleek spacecraft, she locked onto one missile and fired a barrage of lasers. The missile exploded just before reaching its target, saving countless lives below. But the victory came at a cost. One of the blasts damaged her wing, forcing her to retreat. Back on the station, Hygiene sat alone in the cockpit, replaying the battle in her mind. She thought about her teammates who hadn't made it back. Anger boiled inside her. Who were these attackers? What gave them the right to destroy so many innocent lives? She clenched her fists, vowing to find answers and revenge. Days passed, and the world struggled to recover. Governments held emergency meetings, but no one knew what to do. Fear spread faster than the fires still burning across the planet. People huddled in shelters, listening to rumors of more attacks. Some prayed for salvation. Others prepared to fight back. Jae-ho and Hygiene didn't wait for orders. Both driven by grief and determination, they decided to take matters into their own hands. Jae-ho continued studying the alien tech, convinced it held clues to stopping further attacks. Hygiene flew reconnaissance missions, gathering data from other impact sites. Their paths crossed when she brought samples from Paris to the UED lab. When Jae-ho saw Hygiene step into the room, he recognized her immediately. Her face had been on the news after the failed interception attempt. Up close, she looked exhausted, her uniform stained with soot, but there was fire in her eyes. He introduced himself and explained his findings. Hygiene listened intently, nodding as he described a message hidden in the missile. "We need to warn everyone," she said. "If we don't act now, they'll come again." Jeho agreed. Together, they began planning their next move. They couldn't rely on governments paralyzed by fear. If humanity wanted to survive, it would have to unite and fight back. Over the following weeks, Jeho and Hygiene recruited allies. One of them was Min-Su, a hacker known for breaking into secure systems. Min-Su had uncovered classified files suggesting Earth's leaders had known about potential alien threats for years, but chose to ignore them. Furious, he joined Jeho and Hygiene, using his skills to expose the truth to the public. With each passing day, the trio grew closer to uncovering the full story behind the attack. But time was running out. Scans detected massive ships approaching Earth from deep space. Whoever had launched the missiles was coming to finish the job. Despite the odds, Jeho, Hygiene, and Min-Su refused to give up. They believed humanity still had a chance, if only they could awaken its spirit of defiance. Little did they know, their actions would inspire millions and set the stage for a battle unlike anything the universe had ever seen. For now, though, they focused on one thing: survival. Because if they failed, Earth wouldn't just lose its cities. It would lose its future. The days following the attack were filled with chaos and despair. Cities lay in ruins, their streets empty except for the occasional survivor scavenging for food or water. The air was thick with smoke, and the smell of burning metal lingered everywhere. People huddled in makeshift shelters, praying the nightmare would end. But Jeho, Hygiene, and Min-Su knew better. This was only the beginning. Jeho spent most of his time locked in the UED lab, poring over the alien missile fragments. His fingers moved quickly across holographic screens, analyzing data and running simulations. Every discovery brought him closer to understanding who, or what, had attacked Earth. The more he learned, the angrier he became. These weren't random invaders. They were calculated killers, and they had left a message behind. The broken words embedded in the missile systems pointed to a species called the Cryolosians. Jeho had never heard of them before, but their name sent shivers down his spine. According to fragmented information, the Cryolosians lived far beyond Earth's reach, hidden in uncharted regions of space. They hated outsiders and saw expansion as a threat. Humanity's colonization efforts had unknowingly crossed into their territory, sparking their wrath. When Jeho shared his findings with Hygiene, she listened quietly, her jaw tightening with each word. She had already lost friends and comrades during the first wave of attacks. Now, knowing there was an entire alien race bent on destroying Earth made her blood boil. "We can't just sit here and wait for them to come back," she said. "We need to fight." Hygiene wasn't one to back down from a challenge. A skilled pilot with nerves of steel, she had always thrived under pressure. But this was different. This wasn't about defending Earth from another human army or even natural disasters. This was about facing an enemy no one understood, an enemy capable of wiping out entire cities without breaking a sweat. Still, she refused to give up hope. If humanity wanted to survive, it needed leaders willing to take risks. And Hygiene was ready to step up. While Jeho worked on decoding the alien tech, Hygiene flew reconnaissance missions to gather more data. Her sleek spacecraft darted between asteroid fields and debris clouds, scanning for traces of the missile's origins. Each mission pushed her closer to danger, but she didn't care. Every piece of intel could mean the difference between life and death for billions of people. It was during one of these missions that Hygiene met Min-Su. She had landed near Paris to investigate an impact site when she spotted someone tampering with the wreckage. At first, she thought it was looters, but as she approached, she realized the figure wore a high-tech suit designed for hacking. When she confronted him, the man raised his hands in surrender. "Wait," he shouted. "I'm not here to steal anything. I'm trying to help." Min-Su introduced himself and explained his role as a hacker. He had been monitoring global communications since the attack, searching for clues about the invaders. What he found shocked him: classified documents revealing that Earth's leaders had known about the Cryolosians for years. Instead of warning the public or preparing defenses, they chose to ignore the threat, fearing it might slow humanity's progress in space. Hygiene listened carefully, her anger growing with every word. How could anyone be so reckless? Billions of lives had been lost because of greed and arrogance. She decided then and there that Min-Su would be a valuable ally. Together, they returned to the UED headquarters, where Jeho eagerly welcomed the newcomer. Over the next few weeks, the trio worked tirelessly to piece together the puzzle. Jeho focused on reverse engineering the alien technology, hoping to use it against the Cryolosians. Hygiene trained pilots for a potential counterattack, teaching them new tactics to deal with advanced enemies. Meanwhile, Min-Su hacked into government servers, exposing the truth to the world. His broadcast sparked outrage, but also inspired millions to join the resistance. As word spread, people began rallying around Jeho, Hygiene, and Min-Su. Volunteers poured into UED facilities, offering whatever skills they had. Engineers helped build weapons. Doctors treated wounded survivors, and ordinary citizens donated supplies. For the first time since the attack, there was a sense of unity, a shared determination to fight back. But despite their progress, doubt lingered in everyone's minds. Could humanity really stand a chance against such powerful foes? The Cryolosians had superior technology and likely outnumbered Earth's forces. Even with Min-Su's hacking abilities and Jeho's scientific breakthroughs, victory seemed impossible. One night, after a long day of work, Jeho found himself staring at the stars through a cracked window. He thought about how much humans had achieved in such a short time. They had walked on the moon, built colonies on Mars, and unlocked the secrets of the universe. Yet now, all those accomplishments felt fragile, like sandcastles waiting to be washed away by an incoming tide. "What are you thinking about?" Hygiene asked, stepping into the room. Jeho sighed. "I'm wondering if we're doing the right thing. Fighting back, it feels like throwing stones at a mountain." Hygiene leaned against the wall, crossing her arms. "Maybe, but sometimes throwing stones is enough to make the mountain crumble." Her words gave Jeho strength. Maybe they couldn't win outright, but they could at least try. Giving up wasn't an option, not when so many lives depended on them. The turning point came when Jeho discovered something groundbreaking. Buried deep within the missile systems was a map, a set of coordinates leading to the Cryolosian homeworld. It wasn't exact, but it provided a starting point. With this knowledge, humanity could strike back instead of waiting to be destroyed. Excited, Jeho called Hygiene and Min-Su to share the news. "This changes everything," he said. "If we can find their homeworld, we can hit them where it hurts." Hygiene nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Then let's do it. Let's show them that humanity isn't afraid to fight for its future." Min-Su grinned. "And while you two plan the attack, I'll keep digging for more info. Who knows what else we might find?" With renewed purpose, the team set to work. Jeho began designing advanced weaponry using the alien tech, creating tools that could rival the Cryolosians' own arsenal. Hygiene assembled a fleet of modified spacecraft, training pilots to handle the unfamiliar controls. Min-Su continued hacking, uncovering additional details about the Cryolosians' weaknesses. As preparations intensified, so did the sense of urgency. Scans detected massive ships emerging from hyperspace, heading straight for Earth. Time was running out. If humanity wanted to survive, it would have to act fast and decisively. Despite the looming threat, Jeho, Hygiene, and Min-Su remained hopeful. They had awakened something powerful within humanity, a spirit of defiance. No matter how strong the Cryolosians were, they hadn't counted on one thing: the resilience of a species determined to protect it home. For now, the battle ahead seemed insurmountable. But Jeho, Hygiene, and Min-Su believed in one simple truth: even the smallest spark could ignite a fire, and humanity's flame burned brighter than ever. The days leading up to humanity's counterattack were tense. The United Earth Defense Headquarters buzzed with activity as scientists, engineers, and volunteers worked around the clock. Jeho, Hygiene, and Min-Su stood at the heart of it all, guiding efforts to prepare for what lay ahead. Though they knew the odds were against them, their determination never wavered. Jeho spent most of his time in the lab, overseeing construction of humanity's first interstellar fleet. Using reverse-engineered alien technology, they built 12 state-of-the-art battleships, each named after a city lost in the initial attack. There was Seoul Rising, Tokyo Dawn, New York Resurgence, and others. These ships weren't just machines. They represented hope, resilience, and vengeance. Each vessel carried experimental weapons designed by Jeho himself. lasers capable of piercing cryologian shields, EMP devices to disable enemy systems, and drones equipped with self-learning AI, all crafted to give humanity a fighting chance. Despite the advanced tech, Jeho kept reminding everyone that these tools were only as good as the people wielding them. "It's not about the weapons," he said during one briefing. "It's about the spirit behind them." Hygiene took charge of training the pilots and crew members who would operate the fleet. She pushed them hard, knowing that even the smallest mistake could cost lives. Her own experience battling the missiles had taught her how ruthless the Cryologians were. During practice runs, she drilled her team on evasive maneuvers, precision targeting, and teamwork. "Out there," she told them, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone back home." Min-Soo, meanwhile, continued hacking into global networks, gathering intelligence and rallying support. His broadcast reached millions, inspiring civilians to join the cause. Factories converted production lines to build spare parts for the fleet, while farmers donated food supplies to feed the troops. Even children contributed by drawing pictures of spaceships and writing letters of encouragement. Humanity, once divided by borders and beliefs, now stood united under a single banner: survival. As preparations neared completion, Jeho called a meeting with Hygiene and Min-Soo. They gathered in a dimly lit conference room, holographic maps of space floating above the table. "We have a plan," Jeho began, pointing to the coordinates he'd extracted from the alien missile. "This is where we'll find the Cryologians' homeworld. But getting there won't be easy." He explained that the path led through a dense nebula filled with dangerous obstacles, asteroid fields, energy storms, and possibly hidden traps set by the Cryologians themselves. "If we make it through, we'll face their entire armada," Jeho added. "But if we succeed, we can strike at the heart of their empire." Hygiene nodded, her expression grim but resolute. "Then let's make sure we succeed." With everything ready, the fleet launched from Earth. Billions watched as the 12 battleships ascended into the sky, their engines roaring like thunder. For many, it was a moment of both pride and fear. Pride because humanity was taking a stand, and fear because no one knew if they'd ever see the ships or their loved ones again. The journey through deep space tested everyone's resolve. Days turned into weeks, and the excitement of departure gave way to the monotony of travel. Pilots grew restless. Engineers worked nonstop to keep the ships running smoothly, and tensions flared among crew members confined in tight quarters. But whenever morale dipped, Hygiene stepped in to remind them why they were here. One evening, she addressed the crew of Sol rising over the ship's intercom. "I know this isn't easy," she said. "None of you has asked for this fight. But remember what we're fighting for. Remember the cities that burned, the families torn apart, the dreams crushed. If we don't stop the Cryologians, they'll do it again, and next time, there might not be anyone left to fight back." Her words struck a chord. Crew members exchanged glances, their doubts replaced by renewed determination. They weren't just soldiers. They were Avengers carrying the hopes of billions. The first real challenge came when the fleet entered the nebula. Swirling clouds of gas obscured their view, making navigation difficult. Energy storms disrupted communications, forcing ships to rely on manual controls. Asteroids drifted unpredictably, threatening to collide with the fleet at any moment. Hygiene coordinated with captains of other vessels, guiding them through narrow passages and avoiding danger zones. Despite their caution, trouble found them anyway. One night, alarms blared across Seoul Rising as sensors detected incoming objects. Hygiene rushed to the bridge, her heart pounding. On the main screen, dozens of small Cryologian drones appeared, firing beams of light at the fleet. "Evasive maneuvers," she shouted. "Return fire." The battle was chaotic. Pilots darted between asteroids, dodging enemy shots while launching counterattacks. Explosions lit up the darkness as drones exploded, sending debris spinning into the void. Thanks to Hygiene's quick thinking, the fleet managed to survive, but not without damage. Several ships sustained minor hits, and 2 pilots were injured. Afterward, Jeho analyzed the wreckage of the destroyed drones. He discovered something unsettling. The Cryologians had been expecting them. The drones were part of an automated defense system, programmed to attack anything entering the nebula. It meant the enemy knew humanity was coming, and they were prepared. "They're testing us," Jeho muttered, staring at the data. Seeing how strong we are before they hit us with everything they've got. Hygiene, clench your fists. Let them test us all they want. We'll show them what humans are made of. As the fleet pressed onward, Min-Su intercepted another transmission. This one came from deeper within the nebula and contained detailed schematics of the Krylosian homeworld. It showed massive fortresses, orbital stations, and countless warships guarding the planet. Looks like we're walking into a hornet's nest, Min-Su said, showing the images to Jeho and Hygiene. We always knew it wouldn't be easy, Jeho replied, but we've come too far to turn back now. Finally, after weeks of travel, the fleet emerged from the nebula. Before them stretched the Krylosian homeworld, surrounded by layers of defenses. Enemy ships patrolled the area, their sleek designs gleaming ominously in the starlight. Hygiene took a deep breath as she gazed at the scene. This is it, she whispered. No turning back. She turned to her crew, her voice steady and commanding. Listen up, everyone. Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for every life lost, every dream crushed. Let the Krylosians know that they've awakened something greater than their weapons, the unyielding spirit of humanity. Cheers erupted throughout Sol Rising. Other ships joined in, their crews shouting defiance into the void. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't afraid anymore. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. As the fleet advanced toward the Krylosian stronghold, Jeho felt a strange mix of emotions. Fear, yes, but also pride. In just a few short months, humanity had gone from being victims to warriors. They had awakened vengeance, not out of hatred, but out of love for their home and each other. For now, the final battle loomed ahead. But Jeho, Hygiene, and Min-Su believed in one thing. Even the smallest spark could ignite a fire, and humanity's flame burned brighter than ever. The final battle began with a deafening roar. The Krylosian fleet moved like a swarm of insects, surrounding humanity's ships in moments. Their vessels were massive and intimidating, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. Energy beams lanced through space, lighting up the void as both sides opened fire. Explosions erupted everywhere, sending shockwaves rippling across the battlefield. Hygiene gripped the controls of Sol Rising, her knuckles white. She had trained for this moment, but nothing could have prepared her for the sheer scale of the conflict. Her ship rocked violently as enemy fire slammed into its shields. Alarms blared, warning of critical damage to the starboard engine. Hold together, she muttered under her breath, guiding the vessel through a tight spiral to avoid another barrage. On the bridge, the crew worked frantically. Engineers scrambled to repair damaged systems, while gunners targeted incoming enemies. Hygiene barked orders, her voice cutting through the chaos. Focus fire on that cruiser, she shouted, pointing to a massive Krylosian warship closing in on their flank. We can't let them break our formation. Jeho monitored the battle from his station aboard Sol Rising. He wasn't a soldier, but he played a crucial role, analyzing enemy movements and adjusting tactics in real time. Using data from the alien tech, he identified weak points in the Krylosian defenses. Their shields are weakest near the core reactors. He told Hygiene over the comms. Aim for those spots. Hygiene relayed the information to the fleet. Pilots adjusted their aim, focusing on the glowing sections of enemy ships. One by one, the Krylosian vessels began to falter. Shields collapsed, hulls cracked, and explosions tore through their ranks. Cheers erupted across the fleet, but Hygiene knew better than to celebrate too soon. The battle was far from over. Min-Su stayed glued to his console, monitoring communications and scanning for threats. His hacking skills proved invaluable as he intercepted enemy transmissions and disabled automated turrets guarding key positions. At one point, he managed to hack into a Krylosian command ship, causing its weapons to malfunction mid-battle. That should buy us some breathing room, he said with a grin, though sweat dripped down his face. Despite their successes, the odds remained stacked against humanity. The Krylosians outnumbered them 10-1, and their technology was still superior in many ways. Even with Jeho's innovations, the human fleet struggled to keep up. Ships began to fall, first one, then another. Each loss hit hard, but the survivors pressed on, driven by desperation and defiance. At the heart of the battle, Hygiene led a daring maneuver. Spotting an opening in the enemy lines, she ordered her squadron to split into smaller groups. Hit them fast and hard, she instructed. Don't give them time to regroup. The tactic worked, creating chaos among the Cryolosians as they tried to respond to multiple threats at once. For a brief moment, it seemed like humanity might actually win. But then the flagship appeared. It emerged from behind the planet, dwarfing every other ship on the field. Its surface shimmered with strange energy, and its weapons glowed ominously. This was the Cryolosian commander's vessel, a fortress capable of wiping out the entire human fleet in seconds. As it approached, Hygiene felt a chill run down her spine. If they didn't take it down, all their efforts would be for nothing. We need a plan, Jeho said urgently. That thing is protected by layers of shielding. We can't just shoot our way through. Hygiene thought quickly. What about the EMP device? Can we disable its shields? It's possible, Jeho replied, but someone will have to get close enough to deploy it. And even then, there's no guarantee it'll work. I'll do it, Hygiene said without hesitation. Before anyone could argue, she grabbed a portable EMP unit and headed for the hangar. Minsu followed her, shaking his head. You're insane, he said. You'll never make it back alive. Maybe not, Hygiene admitted, strapping herself into a small fighter craft. But if I don't try, none of you will. With a burst of speed, Hygiene launched from Sol Rising, flying straight toward the Cryolosian flagship. Enemy fighters swarmed around her, firing relentlessly, but she dodged each shot with practiced precision. Her heart raced as she closed the distance, the massive ship looming larger with every second. She activated the EMP device just as enemy fire grazed her wing, sending sparks flying inside the cockpit. The device detonated, releasing a pulse of energy that rippled through space. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, the flagship shields flickered and vanished. Cheers erupted across the fleet as pilots seized the opportunity to attack. Lasers and missiles struck the exposed hull, tearing it apart piece by piece. Inside the flagship, the Cryolosian commander watched in disbelief as his defenses crumbled. He had underestimated humanity, assuming they would crumble under pressure. But these humans fought with ferocity he hadn't anticipated. As explosions rocked his ship, he realized his mistake. Perhaps it was too late to fix it. Back aboard Sol Rising, Jeho tracked Hygiene's progress anxiously. When her fighter reappeared on the radar, battered but intact, he let out a sigh of relief. She made it, he whispered, his voice trembling. She actually made it. Hygiene landed safely, greeted by cheers from the crew. Exhausted but triumphant, she climbed out of her craft and collapsed into a chair. Did we win? She asked weakly. Not yet, Minsu replied, handing her a bottle of water. But we're closer than ever. The destruction of the flagship turned the tide of the battle. Without their leader's coordination, the remaining Cryolosian forces fell into disarray. Humanity's fleet pressed its advantage, pushing deeper into enemy territory. By the end of the day, the Cryolosians had retreated, leaving their homeworld vulnerable. As the dust settled, Jeho reflected on what they had accomplished. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious, not because of superior technology or numbers, but because of courage and unity. Humanity had proven that it wouldn't go quietly into the night. For now, the fight wasn't over. There was still much to do before peace could be achieved. But for the first time since the attack, hope burned brightly in everyone's hearts. Together, they had awakened something powerful, the unyielding spirit of vengeance. And that spirit would carry them through whatever challenges lay ahead. The Cryolosian homeworld loomed large in the view screens of humanity's fleet. It was a strange and alien place, its surface covered in jagged mountains, glowing rivers of molten energy, and towering structures that looked like they had grown out of ground rather than being built. The atmosphere shimmered with an eerie light, casting long shadows across the landscape. For the first time, humanity stood face to face with the enemy that had brought so much destruction to Earth. Hygiene sat in the command chair, Sol Rising, her hands gripping the armrest tightly. Her body ached from exhaustion, but she refused to rest, not until this fight was truly over. Around her, the crew worked tirelessly, scanning for threats and preparing for what came next. "We've pushed them back," she said aloud, more to herself than anyone else. But we're not done yet. Jeho stood nearby, studying readings from the planet below. He had spent hours analyzing data collected during the battle, piecing together clues about the Krylosian society. What he found troubled him. The species wasn't inherently evil. They were driven by fear. Centuries ago, another race called the Zorathians had invaded their territory, nearly wiping them out. Since then, the Krylosians had isolated themselves, attacking anything that ventured too close to their borders. Humanity's expansion into space had triggered old wounds, leading to the devastating assault on Earth. Minsu approached Jeho, his expression grim. So they're just scared? That doesn't excuse what they did. No, it doesn't, Jeho replied softly. But maybe they don't have to be our enemies forever. Hygiene overheard their conversation and frowned. Are you saying we should forgive them? After everything they've done? I'm saying we have a choice, Jeho explained. We can destroy them completely, or we can try to understand them. If we keep fighting, this war will never end. But if we find a way to talk. Before Hygiene could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Sensors detected movement on the planet's surface. Massive weapon systems powering up. The Krylosians weren't surrendering. They were preparing one last stand. Looks like talking isn't an option right now, Minsu muttered. The fleet descended toward the planet, dodging defensive fire as they approached. Hygiene led the charge, guiding Sol rising through a hail of energy beams and plasma bolts. The ship shook violently, but she held steady, her focus unwavering. Target those weapons, she ordered. Take them out before they hit us. Pilots followed her lead, launching missiles and firing lasers at the glowing towers dotting the horizon. Explosions erupted across the surface, sending plumes of smoke and ash billowing into the sky. Slowly but surely, the defenses began to crumble, but every victory came at a cost. More ships fell, their crews lost in fiery blasts. Each loss weighed heavily on Hygiene's shoulders, but she forced herself to stay strong, for everyone still counting on her. Finally, the fleet reached the heart of the Krylosian stronghold, a colossal fortress surrounded by layers of shielding. Inside, Jeho knew, was the Krylosian leader, the one who had ordered the attack on Earth. Defeating them would end the war once and for all, but getting inside wouldn't be easy. Hygiene assembled a strike team, including herself, Jeho, and Minsu, armed with experimental weapons and protective suits. They boarded a shuttle and flew toward the fortress. Enemy fighters swarmed around them, forcing Hygiene to pull off daring maneuvers to avoid getting shot down. When they finally landed, the airlock hissed open, revealing a dark corridor lit only by pulsating blue lights. Inside, the environment felt oppressive, almost alive. Strange noises echoed through the halls, and the walls seemed to shift slightly as they moved. Minsu hacked into security systems, disabling traps and unlocking doors. This place gives me the creeps, he muttered, clutching his weapon nervously. They encountered resistance almost immediately. Krylosian soldiers emerged from hidden alcoves, their insectoid forms moving with unnatural speed. Hygiene fired her weapon, taking down 2 of them before ducking behind cover. Jeho used a portable EMP device to disable others, while Minsu planted explosives to clear blocked pathways. Together, they fought their way deeper into the fortress, inching closer to their goal. At last, they reached the central chamber. There, standing atop a raised platform, was a Krylosian commander. Towering over them, its exoskeleton gleamed menacingly under the dim light. Multiple eyes scanned the intruders, radiating both menace and sorrow. In one claw-like hand, it held a control panel linked to the planet's remaining defenses. You should not have come here, the creature growled, its voice translated through a crackling speaker. Your kind brings only death. Hygiene stepped forward, lowering her weapon slightly. And your kind destroyed billions of innocent lives, she shot back. Why? What gave you the right? The Krylosian hesitated, its gaze shifting uncertainly. Through the translator, Jeho spoke, his tone calm but firm. We know why you attacked us. We know about the Zorathians. You were afraid we'd do the same thing. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then the Krylosian let out a low, mournful sound. Fear, yes. Fear drove us. But fear also blinds. Perhaps it is time to see clearly. Hygiene exchanged glances with Jeho and Minsu. Could this really be happening? Were they actually negotiating peace? We don't want to destroy you. Jeho continued. We want to live together in peace. Can you accept that? The Krylosian lowered its weapon slowly, its posture softening. Perhaps there is a path forward, but trust must be earned. Hygiene nodded. Then let's start earning it. Back aboard the fleet, news of the ceasefire spread quickly. Cheers erupted among the surviving crew members, though tempered by grief for those who hadn't made it. The battle was over, but the scars would remain for Earth, for Mars, and for the countless lives changed forever. In the weeks that followed, humanity and the Krylosians began rebuilding, not just their worlds, but their relationship. Diplomats worked alongside scientists to establish new boundaries and trade agreements. Survivors on Earth started repairing cities, planting seeds of hope amid the ruins. As Jeho gazed at the stars from the bridge of Sol Rising, he felt a sense of cautious optimism. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not because of hatred or vengeance, but because of resilience and unity. Humanity had proven it could adapt, survive, and even forgive. For Hygiene, the journey was far from over. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she also knew they had awakened something powerful within themselves, something worth protecting. And as long as that spirit burned bright, humanity would always find a way to rise again.